Are you Jessica?
Yes.
So if you bring it to, I was right here.
Thank you.
Okay. So
What?
not so on the app there was no tip. So I thought maybe sometimes some people like to give tip in cash. So
No, I'd already paid for my food, so I thought that included your.
no, on the app it's $2. They pay us to deliver, and then everything else is tip. We're a service business, so everything is tip.
I already. I'm sorry.
No
I
tip.
I don't have any
You're
cash
serious?
on me. Yeah.
It this was 35 minutes to drive there for just $2.
I'm sorry, but I don't. I
Okay,
don't have any
let me see something.
cash. What?
Let me just see because
Rude.
it was a long drive.
What are
How
you
many how many
doing?
did you hold? Can I sit down? It was a
Are
long
you
drive,
serious?
So is there ketchup?
Are
Is there?
you serious right now? I'm reporting.
It was a long
Did you
drive.
just take a
'Cause If I
bite?
if I go home and tell my girlfriend that I drove 35 minutes for $2, no tip, she'll beat me. So do you have water? 'Cause
That is so disrespectful.
Can we talk about tipping culture and how it's gone way too fucking far? So a few months ago, I got Botox at a new place, and the girl who did my Botox was pleasant. She was very chatty, and we talked about how the price of living in a big city has gone up so crazy. But she talked about how she was one of the lucky ones because she makes $60 an hour and just got a new Tesla. So I got to the front desk to pay my $750 for all of 15 minutes that I was in there to the front desk. And this bitch looked me dead in my eyes and said, "So how much gratuity are you planning on leaving?" I said, "For a med spa appointment, how much do people normally tip?" And she said, $200. I said, "Isn't this shit like 75% marked up already?" Listen, she was nice. I'll leave like $40. So, cut to today. I have an appointment booked for tomorrow, and I just got an email that it's been canceled. So I go on the website to check if there's anybody else that can fit me in tomorrow, if anyone has any availability. And her schedule has an opening where my appointment was. Of course, I immediately think maybe she's called out for the day, maybe something's come up. So I call this med spa and say, "Hey, do you have any appointments for Botox available tomorrow?" And they said, "Oh, we just had an opening," and it was that bitch at my time. So now I feel like they canceled my booking because I did not tip her $200 when she already makes $60 an hour.
So I go to Ben and Jerry's yesterday and I just wanted a cone. Just wanted a nice, fresh, warm cone. So I walk over to the counter and I was like, "Hi, can I just have a waffle cone?" And she was like, "Yeah, sure. Here you go. That'll be $2." So I was like, "Okay." I go to put my card in and of course the tipping screen comes up. And I was like, I didn't say this out loud, but in my head I was like, "I'm not tipping you on a cone. You literally just handed me a cone." And I'm also like, the percentages were insane. I was like, I'm not tipping you $1 on a $2 cone that you just handed me. I'm not. So she hands me my cone. I put my card in. It gives me like, "How much do you want to tip?" I hit no tip, and the cashier goes to my face, to my actual face. Like, on no planet is that ever appropriate. Even if I got $100 worth of ice cream and I don't tip you, you can't to the customer. On top of that, Miss Girl, what were you expecting I tipped you to hand me a cone? There wasn't even a service being exchanged. It was an exchange, it was a transaction. It wasn't even an act of service.
Tipping is getting out of hand. Went to a really popular smoothie establishment 2 days ago to get my fiance an acai berry boost, and she rings me up. I added protein to it. She rings me up. It's a little bit more expensive than it was listed on the menu. Fine, I literally added protein. Totally fine. But it was noticeably more expensive than it should have been if I added protein. Okay, so she's like, "Okay, your total is $10.51." So I'm like, oh, in my head, I'm like, oh, that's an expensive smoothie. But it's literally Long Island, like, fine. Then she goes, "Do you want to round up?" I'm like, "No." "How about you round down?" No, I didn't say that. So then I pay with my card and I'm prompted to leave a tip, and it's automatically highlighted at 20%. And in my head, I'm like, I'm not tipping. I'm literally just grabbing my smoothie and leaving. I do tip if I like sit at the establishment or like I'm actually using their thing, but I'm literally paying a top dollar for this smoothie. So I click no tip. Then an alert comes up on the credit card machine, all in caps. It says, "Bad tip." When I tell you I stood there and waited for my smoothie embarrassed. I literally got shamed from a credit card machine. And honestly, I'm wondering if the person who rang me up just like happened to add a little bit more, because I've heard that was a thing that people do. Does anybody else experience that?
I'm sorry to say this, but tipping culture has gotten out of control. And I just want to preface this by saying that I always tip 20% like standards. I went to this like local like little, it's like a burger and fry place, kind of like the local version of McDonald's. So like chicken tenders and fries, right? I get up to the pay window and she's like, how much do you want to tip? And I'm just like, what? And she's like, yeah, did you want to leave a tip? And she's like pointing to them. And I was like, oh no, not today. And then I just felt really uncomfortable. But like, homegirl, what am I gonna tip you for? I'm in the fucking drive-thru. Oh my god.
Tip that good either.
Why don't you tip that good?
I feel like that money can be used to buy another drink.
Gen Z tips the least.
Tipping debate continues, and this time it's taking a look at which generations are feeling generous.
That's right, don't dip on tipping.
Most of us are just tired of tipping our servers and stylists, according to a new survey by Bankrate that found 66% of Americans take issue with the tipping culture in this country. But it also found
Gen Zers are the worst tippers by far.
The survey found that only 35% of Gen Zers tip at sit-down restaurants.
I don't tip that good either.
Why don't you tip that good?
I feel like that money can be used to buy another drink.
You won't be surprised to hear that baby boomers tip the most frequently of any generation for most services. But then again, they're more likely to have that extra money to pay for a barista's tip on top of the $6 coffee.
My brother is like 25 and I feel like he tips normally.
Money can be tight for people in their 20s, but bad tipping could be a sign of the times.
I think the economy, just because of all of the job loss, and I think also they haven't been taught.
Or maybe taught a concept that's completely different. Bankrate found Gen Z is more woke, wanting to prove a point that paying workers a livable wage isn't their responsibility.
A lot of young adults in particular have a social justice take on tipping, as in it's not fair and we shouldn't be doing it. They're more likely to say that businesses should just pay their staff better.
The survey also found that in addition to Gen Zers, men are really bad tippers. So when those two groups intersect, you know what you're going to get.
The economy is really hitting us. We're really struggling.